Thank you, Chair Lee, Ranking Member Sewell, and members of the subcommittee and witnesses for joining us today. As part of the 2022 Midterm Look Back Series, we're engaged in a conversation to highlight what states have done well and to reflect on lessons learned. Today, we'll continue that discussion by examining the role of election observers who are essential to a healthy election administration system. Election observers simply means more transparency. Observers provide an independent and essential perspective on the elections administration process. Ultimately, election observers is one of the best tools in our arsenal to promote voter confidence in election processes and outcomes. Most elections officials across the country welcome and value elections observers as partners to promote voter confidence and to help identify areas for improvement. Unfortunately, there are some election officials who've restricted access and hindered the work of election observers in recent years. That's why I've introduced the Confirmation of Congressional Observer Access Act that last Congress to promote access for observers working on behalf of Congress. The Constitution already requires states to allow access for designated congressional election observers to observe election administration procedures in an election for federal office. But we've heard from some officials that a statutory citation of convenience would help them. The bill doesn't change federal law or impose any burden beyond what the Constitution already requires. However, it would go a long way to ensure that we're working with state and local officials who actually administer our election. This includes access to polling places and other facilities where ballots are cast, processed, tabulated, and canvassed, and the results certified, where voter registration activities occur before an election, and where election administration procedures to prepare for the election or carry out post-election recounts. While in general, Congress shall respect the determination of state authorities with respect to the election of members to each chamber of Congress, the Constitution requires that each chamber to serve as its own final judge of elections, qualifications, and returns of its own members. We must also assure that every person who is sworn in was elected by their constituents in a free and fair election. The Designated Congressional Observers Act assists Congress in developing its own factual record in preparation for any potential election contests. Congress has deployed election observers to observe congressional elections in states for decades, and we must ensure they have necessary access. This committee runs the House Elections Observer Program, working hard over the past several Congresses to expand and improve the program. We've trained and deployed congressional staff to election sites across the country. We know that greater transparency leads to increased voter confidence, which in turn leads to increased voter turnout. I look forward to working in a nonpartisan way to continue highlighting the key role election observers play in the election administration process.